We've got with us Rahul Jain, VP Research at Daulat Capital, joining in on the show right now. Rahul, hi, morning. So good to have you on the show. Let me first talk about Infosys. Are you surprised with the kind of move that you're seeing on the stock? Because while the numbers were worse than prior expectations, I think they were better than what everyone was fearing after hearing Wipro as well as TCS. So a little bit of a relief, I guess, over there, and that's pretty evident on the way the stock is moving today.
Yeah, I think the results were weak, guidance were weak, but most important statement that they made on the earning call was that this guidance is basically embedding a weaker scenario, but it is not impacted because something has already happened. I think that was one positive thing, that there is no ramp down, slow down, or cancellation that they have observed at this point. So it's more about anticipating that, and we know that Infosys guidance is typically more conservative. So it gives you a thought process that this year could be 3-4% growth is a possibility, which is slightly higher than the band they have suggested. Similarly, Q4 being weak, but the weakness was more impacted because of some one-time pass-through charges which came at lower. So it's not again seen as an impact which could be sustaining for the rest of the year or quarters ahead of us. So I think, and the expectation were low, as you rightly said, after the Wipro's number. So I think culmination of all of this rock bottom valuation, I think those are the things that have supported the move today. Despite this, we don't see there could be a significant upside because the uncertainty will remain for some time, but it's more about adding up something at this level.
Right. Very good morning to you, Rahul. This is Cheryl also joining in the conversation. And yes, the fact that you have the guidance coming in lower than what the street was anticipating for most of them, that is Infosys and Wipro. And Wipro did sound a bit cautious when you talk about the macro environment. I wanted to understand what would be the likely triggers to watch out for if we have to actually gauge the entire IT space at this point in time, given the fact the underperformance from the IT sector has been pretty sharp when you compare it to the benchmark indices as well.
Yeah, I think some of the conversation or commentary that we might see during the subsequent interaction in the month of May and June, where probably some of them would say that the impact has not yet come. So that would mean the current order book, which are decent in last couple of quarters, would start reflecting into a better growth outcome. And selectively, it will lead into improved confidence commentary and maybe uptick in guidance in some cases. So I think those are the things that we would look for. As we see from a macro perspective, it's like a 90-day pause. So possibly some of the weaker or slower decision making that probably happened in select cases, in case of TCS and Wipro, which they highlighted, may start seeing a ramp up. So we may see some relatively easing off in the commentary on the positive side, and that may also act a trigger going forward for these companies.
One is wondering then, Rahul, whether there is a case at all for IT stocks to have bottomed out. Because historically, what one has seen is that earnings would bottom out before the stocks, but could it be different this time around?
Yes, so there are two, three fundamental things that we are getting comfort from. A, the valuation are at 20x, give or take, let's say, for example, for Infosys. And this is when we are building a very modest growth for next 2 years. So the probabilities of that growth being beaten on the upside exist, and multiple going up also exist. So it's like the opposite of what it was few months back when we were kind of negative on the sector because the expectations were high, multiples were high. Meeting those expectations was difficult. Now we are seeing the opposite of it. And some of these companies also have a very high payout commitment of, let's say, 85% odd, which would mean that at current valuation, they are yielding closer to 4%. So, which is a decent yield, plus you have INR upside as well as modest growth. So that gives you a comfort of 10-12% kind of a return even in a weaker year like this. And if we see some uptake, then there could be a re-rating potential also. So yes, that will be the case, and some selective weaknesses we might observe because the macro event will definitely have a beating on some of the player and little bit on the pricing side as well. And there's also disruption around AI, so we will see some players getting affected by all of those factors. But on a broader scale, we don't see too much weakness at this year. In fact, if you look at the Gartner IT spend forecast, it's still 7% for this year in the latest most release. So the IT spend cut looks unlikely at this point, and we will see some positive in that point.
All right. Rahul, also give us a sense that how do you read into Tata Elxsi's numbers, because there are hopes that their automotive segment may see a ramp up in the deals, and even after the earnings, the stock is reacting positively. But there has always been a concern regarding the valuation. So help us your view on Tata Elxsi and what should investors do?
So we don't formally cover this name, but basis my reading of the subject, I could suggest one or two elements. One thing is that the last few years there has been some time correction that the company has seen, and auto side ER&D spends are weakening from a general commentary that we hear, but selectively we see that there are some large deal happening. So we saw LTTS also signing one good deal a few weeks back. So smaller companies might get that kind of a boost up with one or two important deal wins that may come their way. So that could be the thing, even that could boost Alexis' performance going forward as well. But I would like to limit my thoughts to that and would not give any recommendation because we don't have one on this name.
Sure. Okay, Rahul, great to have you on the show. Thanks as always for your time.